now we're live. Go ahead.
Well, my goodness gracious, it looks like our whole live thing just blew up on us. But my one of my favorite sayings is technology is great when it works. When it works. I am going to go back and read these bios again. I'm not sure how much of them came through. It looked like we got booted off by some crazy reason, but it looks like we're back on board now. So I'm going to talk about Nicole first. Nicole Rice is a dedicated leader in the fight against human trafficking. With expertise in outreach, survivor-centered care, and community-based response, she holds a master's degree in Christian leadership and previously served as president and executive director of Lavish Ministries Incorporated. That's where she led initiatives to support survivors and raise awareness about exploitation. With a strong background in nonprofit leadership and direct service, Nicole addresses the complex legal and systemic factors that contribute to trafficking. She is passionate about equipping communities, strengthening collaborative networks, and developing strategic programs that advance the intervention and long-term restoration for survivors. Thank you, Nicole. This is an amazing bio, and I know the resume is probably even deeper than that. Shannon, next on to you. Shannon Rapier, and I hope I pronounced it properly. Yes, good. Shannon's a survivor leader, advocate, and director at the Freedom Collective in Northwest Florida, where she leads the development and operation of a 24/7 emergency safe home for women exiting sex trafficking and commercial sexual exploitation. With over 8 years of experience in the anti-trafficking field, she's a certified alcohol and drug counselor, a certified peer support specialist, and the creator of the Certified Peer Support of Exploitation program, equipping survivor leaders to support others in their healing journey. Shannon also serves as an instructor with the Institute for Shelter Care, teaching the triune care model for stabilization of shelters. Her leadership integrates professional expertise with lived experiences, and she's deeply committed to creating pathways of restoration, dignity, and long-term healing through collaborative, Christ-centered care. Supported by her husband and two children, Shannon continues to lead efforts that provide immediate safety and lasting hope for survivors. Um, I'm just going to say those are both really overwhelming and extrememely interesting, deep bios, and I'm so impressed. You both look extremely young, and to have these kind of credibility behind you guys, that's fantastic. It's amazing. So, what I'd like to start with, now that we've read your bios, why don't we start with you, Nicole? Why don't you just give us, your 3 5 minute talk about how you got involved in this, when, and what your role is now.
Sure. Well, thank you guys so much for inviting Shannon and I to be here, to be your guests today. So I entered into this world when I was 17. When I was 17 years old, I came across an interview on TV of a woman who was giving her testimony. And this woman, her name was Annie. So I was listening to this 10-minute video of her testimony, and her story involved being trafficked in Vegas, and I just was memorized by hearing her story because I'd never heard anything like this before. I'd never really heard the word trafficking. I didn't really know what it meant. And around the same time was the movie Taken. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Taken, or there's two sequels to it as well. So there's 3 movies,
Yeah,
and
of course.
so right. So human trafficking started to become a word, a phrase that people would use. But I wanted to go a little bit deeper than that. I wanted to know, what was trafficking? What did Annie go through? What were these movies? Because Taken was scary. I don't want that to happen to me or anybody I know. So I started researching, and I thought that human trafficking or anything horrific like that would happen in either third world countries or maybe in big cities like Miami or Chicago or Las Vegas. But I soon found out through my research that no, it happens everywhere. It can happen in the rural communities. It can happen in your neighbor's house. It could happen, sure, in the big cities and third world countries, but it can happen at a local school. So as I began to learn more about trafficking, it really opened my eyes to the community and the world around me. And when I was 21, I started an organization called Lavish Ministries and was the president and executive director for over 10 years, leading that organization. And now I'm able to serve Shannon with the Freedom Collective, which having an emergency safe home has been the desire of my heart for the Panhandle for over 10 years. So seeing the Freedom Collective come here and, make that dream, that vision of fruition after a decade of work has been amazing to see. And so now my role with human trafficking is really serving Shannon, serving the Freedom Collective in whatever capacity that looks like. Right now, I'm happily a volunteer with them, able to support them behind the scenes with fundraising and grant writing, and I'm happy to be here.
Wow, that's amazing. That's
That
amazing.
is.
You've got a great resource here, Shannon. That's awesome. We'll get into some more of the things you touched on there in a few minutes, but I'd like to have Shannon just kind of give her introduction and same questions. How'd you get involved with the human trafficking, coined the human trafficking? What's your background, and then we'll move on from there.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Listen, Nicole is a gem. I'm just gonna say that. Jeff Shaw, he's our CEO. I talk to him every week, and I'll say, Nicole is a godsend. God sent her just for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I appreciate her being on our team for sure, and she's taught me some stuff too. So I appreciate all of it. So for me. I got involved in the safe home over 8 years ago. I started volunteering with the safe home. I have my own history of past trauma, and when I started in the safe home, I just really felt the connection to sitting next to survivors. I felt that my cup was getting filled up, sitting next to them, and I think in a lot of ways it went both ways, right? And so I started in the safe home just volunteering. I would just go and hang out with the ladies, and really, like I said earlier, I just really fell in love with it. And I have a love-hate relationship with the work that we do. I truly hate with a deep passion that we have to do it, but I do love that I get to do it. And and so I don't see myself doing anything else. And so once I started in the safe home, I was previously working with another long-term residential organization in Georgia. So I'm originally from Georgia, and I loved that piece. I loved watching the women go through inner healing. I loved getting to see the family restoration. And as I saw that in others' life, I saw how that was also taking place in my own life. And just sitting next to, I just have that heart of helping people. And I didn't have the education that I thought that I needed. And so I went back to school. I became a certified addiction drug counselor. That was hard in itself, but it's great. I'm glad I have it. And I really started on a journey of schooling to where I'm still in school today. I'll just say that. So I finished finals last week, and so this is my week off, so I'm really excited about that. But I'm in school now to get my bachelor's in human services. And so I want to make sure that I can continue to better educate myself to care for others. And every day I'd sit in that safe home next to women, and just as much as I felt like I was teaching them something, they were teaching me something. And it is something that I don't see myself doing anything different. And learning and growing in this field, teaching and training with the Institute, and just helping other organizations over these last several years has been a huge blessing, to be able to share what I've learned, our do's and our don'ts, and well, this worked well and this didn't work well. And so that has been fun. But that emergency piece, we'll talk more about the Freedom Collective here in a minute, but the emergency piece that we do is, it's hard, but it is something that I feel like I do really well in crisis. And so, yeah, and my husband and my family, we moved down here to Florida, not Georgia. We moved from Georgia to Florida last year to partner with another organization called Safe in the Panhandle. And we opened up an emergency safe home this year. And so we've been very grateful for doing that. And we'll get more into all that, everything entails with the organization. And so, yeah, and that's what I've been doing.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, both of y'all have such full resumes, but I'm impressed, and I don't know if impressed is even the right word, but I'm excited that you guys are interested in your own growth. I mean, it's just a huge part of life. And James is a certified business coach with the John Maxwell program, and that's what he teaches. You know, it's life's about continuing to grow. And all you got to do is read some scripture to learn that too. So, well, that's amazing. So talking about the Freedom Collective, you guys want to go back and forth and share, or does one of you want to start and just kind of say, here's what we do, and the other one can piggyback on, and if we have questions along the way, we'll ask. And also, the audience out there, if you have questions, please put them in the comment section, and we'll take them as they come, and we'll make sure that we try and answer them. Now, I will say that if there's something that's sensitive or something that doesn't make sense, we're going to hold off. We're not going to we're not going to respond to that. So just be aware of that when you're asking questions.
Yeah. So the Freedom Collective, our mission is to glorify God by bringing hope to victims of sexual exploitation, empowering them to live free, and ultimately abolishing sex trafficking. Now, we know that is a huge mission, right? And first, we can't do that without God. And He leads and He guides us every step of the way. And then we can't do that without our staff, our amazing volunteers, community partners, just people coming and joining alongside us. And so with the Freedom Collective, we have 3 locations. And so we have a location in Atlanta, Georgia. We have a location in Columbus, Ohio, and we have a location, our newest location is Northwest Florida. And so, Nicole, if you want to share a little bit more about what we do.
Yeah, so the Freedom Collective, a little bit backstory of how I got to know Shannon is, like I said, I led an organization here in Northwest Florida for 10 years. And I really felt like in 2024 that it was time for me to pass the baton. And literally, I got these pink batons made that Shannon has. Look, she has a blank on.
Right there.
That's awesome.
It's on my desk.
I love that. So Shannon has a baton, and then Safe in the Panhandle, as Shannon mentioned, they're getting a baton. I still have their baton in my office. And then our executive director, Jeff Shaw, he has a baton as well. And really, after much prayer and consideration, when we got word that the Freedom Collective was coming here, I had known of Jeff for over 10 years. I know that he's a man of integrity and has always operated in that capacity. And I've had experiences with working with their home in Atlanta and placing women there. So I knew that when they were going to work with Safe in the Panhandle to open a safe home in Northwest Florida, specifically an emergency safe home, I knew that was something that, we wanted to hop on board with and support and just pour into, because that was our vision for 10 plus years. So I feel like we were able to kind of plant those seeds in this community and water those seeds. And then Shannon and Jeff and their team were able to come in, and now we're seeing those seeds continuing to flourish. One cool thing I can share is that one woman who came through our program is now, she was on staff with Lavish, and she's now on staff with Shannon. So actually, Shannon has had 2 staff members who came through our program who are now serving with you. So it's just been, the fruition of a dream and just the plan that God had. And so we literally passed the baton to the Freedom Collective, and are so happy we did, because they're opening that home. They opened the home. They're serving women, and I'm just happy to be a part.
That's
Oh, that's
awesome.
amazing. Yeah.
And I do have a question, Sean, for both of them. What surprised you? You know, like you said, the movie Taken, right? You
Mm.
have that image of human trafficking and sexual trafficking. What surprised you, both of you? This is to both of you. What surprised you when you started getting involved in it? What surprised you that you did not know about human trafficking that surprised you? Like we took you back. If you don't mind sharing that.
Hey James, do you mind if we
Yeah,
ask another question first? I think to
sure.
kind of set the stage. Let's give a good definition of what human trafficking is,
Yeah,
and
that's
and then
awesome.
I think that question would be a great follow up to that
Yeah,
because we give the audience an idea. Hey, this is what it looks like, and yeah, I love the question, James. So that's great.
yep.
Yeah. Go ahead, Nicole.
All right. So human trafficking. So of course you have your federal definition, but you also have different states define it slightly
Right,
differently, or they at least word it differently. Um, so human trafficking is when, specifically, we're talking about sex trafficking. We're talking
right,
about the exchange of money or something of monetary value for a sexual act. So it could be the exchange of money, it could be the exchange of drugs, it could be the exchange of a hotel for a night or a meal. It's some type of act that's commercialized to be used for the purpose of sex. Now, in saying that, when we're talking about minors, it's a little bit different. So for minors, you don't have to prove that there was force, fraud, or coercion involved with that sex act. With adults, you do. So, in order to create a distinction for adults between prostitution and sex trafficking, there has to be coercion, force, or fraud involved with that transaction. With minors, that goes out the window. All you have to prove with minors to label it sex trafficking was that there was an exchange. There was an exchange of money or something of value
right.
for that sexual act, and then that for minors is considered sex trafficking.
Okay.
Okay, that's a really good definition. Thank you. So to James's question, with that definition in mind, what would be something that surprised you guys? That's a great
Yeah.
question.
It is. It's a really great question. Um, I have two parts to that. So when I first got involved, and when I first started learning more about sex trafficking and um, just the work that was being done and the work that wasn't being done about it, and so one of the top things that really surprised me is really realizing how it just happens everywhere, how
Mm,
it's not like your movies. It's not overseas. It's not it's literally like Nicole said, next door in the house behind you. In the
wow.
school system, that it happens in the school systems. And so once I realized that it truly does happen everywhere, it's one of those things that you can't unsee. And like once you're educated, you can't unsee it. And literally, I think it was just yesterday, I was having a conversation with somebody, and I was like, sometimes I know that the Lord hasn't called me to do this, but sometimes I wish I could just put a little hat on so I can
Right.
just like, enjoy
Yeah.
whatever it is. Because it's like I go to Starbucks and there's these two guys, and I was like, and first it's my discernment. Like the Lord, that is one of the gifts He had given me, and there was these two guys at Starbucks, and I saw them watching a car, and I was just like, oh, something is not right here. Or watching their car. And so, like, once you know, you can't unsee it. And so, in the beginning, that is something that was surprising. Now, what is still surprising to me is how many people say that it doesn't happen. Like I mean, so many people still say it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in a specific county, or it doesn't happen in my neighborhood, or oh, that doesn't happen at all. And it's like, no, no, it does. And so I think that that's a two-parter for me.
Yeah. Wow.
That's powerful. I think that's it's something, especially the way you guys are. It's in your backyard, and it's prevalent. I just think people don't realize how prevalent it is, and how it's impacting us, even the way we live. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, James, and I think it's because I mean, you guys obviously see it because that's what you do. Um,
Yeah.
for someone like me, I may not pick up on things when that are happening right around me. And it's funny. One of the things I've tried to do this year is, I've asked God to show me those divine appointments during the day where I get a chance to share with somebody,
Yeah.
and for me to be in tune to it. Right. Well, you guys are in tune to this, so you see these two guys that are acting weird at Starbucks.
Mm.
You say, "Oh, something's up."
Yeah.
you know M- Me, I'd be getting my coffee and going and sitting down. I just I'm just being real, right?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be, I wouldn't pick up on it because I'm not trained in that. And I think that's one of the things I'd like to see come out of this, is to giving our audience and anybody watching now or in the future when they look at the review, is that they can pay a little more attention to what's going
Right.
on,
Well, and
and
I think you guys said something like, even Sean, when you just said, weird, because you got to be sick, obviously,
yeah.
to be involved in that, and but that being said, would you guys say that many of these people probably don't appear to be that to other people, that the people who are doing this stuff, and they seem to be someone that's real normal, and
Oh yeah,
what would- what
some
would
of
go ahead.
some of the most charming people I've ever met were traffickers.
Mm.
Wow.
Well,
Because that's how they get away with it, is because of their charm and of the manipulation they're able to throw at their victims. It's very psychological. And so, yes, I've met many traffickers. I'd say the majority of the traffickers I've come in contact with were extremely charming.
mm, wow.
Well,
And
I want to say, go
I'm going
ahead.
to add a little bit more to that. And so we talk about the traffickers, but then you think about the buyers, right? And so,
Wow.
on the other side of that, you have buyers who are, they could be law enforcement, they can be lawyers, they could be your clerk at the gas station, they can be a bail bondsman. They could be anybody, right? And so it's like, but a lot of people don't think that that's the case, but it is. There's so many cases. There's actually a case that our team worked on in Atlanta where a lawyer just got arrested, 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
That
Wow.
the woman that actually helped put him behind bars was in our program in Atlanta. And so we were able to help assist that. And he was a lawyer, and he was 78 years old. So he's like,
Wow.
so it's like you
Oh
just
my
never
God.
know. And so I think that you never know who the trafficker is. You never know who the buyer is.
And
Right.
that's horrifying. How long has this guy been doing this? I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Well,
Exactly.
horrifying.
especially that's a good point, Sean. 70 some. By the way, we have quite a few people watching, and we want to encourage people to ask questions. And we have David Thompson asking how much of it involves continual control,
Mhm.
ownership, or slavery. What would you guys? How would you respond to that?
Go ahead.
Yeah. I would say a lot of it, and there's a grooming process that leads up to this. So no survivor or victim wakes up one morning and says, "I'm going to be sex trafficked today." That's not how it happens.
Right.
And often in America, first world country, it often doesn't happen with kidnapping either. It usually happens with a charming person. It could be a man or a woman who presents himself as the hero of the story. Is, you find someone who's vulnerable, you present yourself as the hero of their story. I'm going to help you pay your bills this month. I'm going to help pay your electric bill. I'm going to drive your kids to daycare for you. I'm going to cook dinner for you. I'm going to do all these things until one day you owe me. And then that's where the manipulation, and
Wow.
that's where
Mm,
the tables turn. And now you're no longer in this loving, charming relationship. Now you're indebted to this person who is now your trafficker.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and you
Gotcha.
have can see the control, you think about a lot of it can come from poverty, from substance use, family, there's familial trafficking. There is the Romeo pimp, which really explains what Nicole was just talking about. Um, and all these women who come into our homes, they are in survival mode because they have had to survive to get through life. And, traffickers use whatever it takes to control, whether that is, your family, your kids, isolation, manipulation, substance use, mental health. There's so many different things. The fast lifestyle, right? And so there's so many things that traffickers can use to control these ladies. Well,
Wow.
and men. It doesn't just happen to women. We just serve women, and so that's why we refer to women. But I want to be very clear: it does happen to men and women.
Well,
Yes.
I have Robert McGee from Panama. He's asking if you're to give advice to the youth, what will you tell them as tips to help them not find themselves in these situations? Thank you,
That's
Rob.
That's a great question. The first thing that comes to my mind, Shannon, you may agree with this, is to not talk to people online that you don't know in real life. That may be the simplest answer I could give,
Mm.
because, you know, everybody has a cell phone. Our youth have cell phones. Our kids have cell phones. And it's so easy for a child to be accessed through their phone. And I've seen, simple conversations turn very bad very quickly, and all of a sudden now, this child or this teenager is being sexually exploited, or we call it sexploitation. It's when someone's being exploited sexually, usually through a digital means. So, you start talking to someone you don't know online, and they manipulate you to start sending them photos or videos. And then that person switches and says, listen, if you don't continuously send me more photos and more videos, I'm going to share this with your parents. I'm going to send this to your youth pastor. I'm going to share it with your school. It becomes very, very dark very quickly.
Would you give if you gave a percentage of how many? Because I was watching a documentary about this, but I want to ask you guys first. So, what percentage would you say the majority? The majority are coming from the phones online, and those that are not online. Maybe someone physical contact. That they met someone, their neighbor. What would you say is like the majority? Or is there a percentage?
Yeah, that's good. For me, and what I've seen throughout the years is the majority for me was adults who encountered someone in person who they were in a romantic relationship with. But I do think my perspective may be skewed on that because I've only worked with adult survivors of trafficking.
Gotcha.
Whereas if you ask someone with DCF or another organization that works with children, they're probably going to say through social media.
Gotcha.
Wow.
That makes sense. That really makes sense because of the social media aspect of it is uh, it's so out there, and today, even adults can be tied to their phone and get emotional and impacted by
Yeah.
the stuff that they see, and so that makes a lot of sense. Um, One of the questions I had was how do you not how are there stereotypes when it comes to what people think of when they think of how human trafficking occurs, as opposed to what the real thing is? Like it's not glamorous like a movie,
Right.
or or like the movie Taken, which I'm sure
Right. Right. Right.
is an actual thing that can happen, but it's a movie, and I hate to think of glamorizing anything like this, but I think the movie Taken's a good indicator of, hey, first and foremost, be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah.
But
Don't go to France. No, I'm only kidding.
oh my
Only
goodness, yeah. But is there a way that stereotypically do people think about
right.
this, and in your guys' experience, then overcoming that piece to give people that ground level experience.
Yeah, I think I'll say, so when you talk about sex trafficking, people will say, kidnapping, taken against their will, forced to do drugs, you know, fast, high, like high pace lifestyle, etc. But when you talk about commercial sexual exploitation, then people say, oh, well, they have a choice in that. And I think we talk a lot about choices and what that really means for somebody who potentially is working at a strip club, and what does that mean for that person in the sense of we don't know why she has to do that, right? You don't know if there's a trafficker in the club making her do that, but you also don't know if she grew up in poverty, if she grew up addicted to some type of substance, and what if that was like a generational thing? Like, what if that was all her family taught her? And so I think the biggest thing that I've noticed is, like, when you talk about sex trafficking, people have a specific vision. Oh, that wasn't their choice. They had no options. They were forced against their will. But when you talk about commercial sexual exploitation, people think, oh, that's their choice and that's what they want to do. And so I think that's the biggest stereotype that I see a lot of, especially working in the field. And when you bring the educational piece to the community, I've heard that, right? I've heard people respond when I ask, well, when we say this, what do you think? What are the words you think? And then when we say this, what are the words you think? And it's very interesting how we talked about the lack of education. It's like, oh, well, if you don't know, then you don't know. And so that's why education is so important in this field. But that has been one of the biggest things that I have noticed a lot of. And then you have other movies that are out there, people are creating movies that really give a false vision of how sex trafficking, commercial sexual exploitation happens in America. And so there was a new documentary called Still Hope that was released a couple months ago. Phenomenal movie. It was based on a true story, and it really shows different ways that it can happen here in America. Also, shout out to our friends at Exodus Cry. If you've never heard of them, they have created several different documentaries, and they can bring a lot of light to what sex trafficking and commercial sexual exploitation is and how it happens here in America specifically.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's hopefully that's educational for everybody. It was for me, certainly. But yeah, I think the we get the wrong view in our minds. Again, we're so social media driven, and we're so what we take in, essentially we can regurgitate. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but we can believe what we see, and then there's the real world, right? And you do see that out there a lot in film, movie, TV, all those mediums. There's a question here, James. You want to catch that
I'll
one?
read it. Yeah, this is Rob McGee again. I believe that as parents, we need to have a real discussion with the youth about freedom. Do you believe that as parents, we can get through to them before this happens to them? I'll leave it up to you guys if you want to read it.
Shannon, you got it. You're a mom. You go for it.
Yes, I am just going to say yes. I think that it is so important to talk and bring awareness to our kids. I'm not saying sit down with your 6-year-old and really give, like, here's what sex trafficking is. But I do think that we can educate them on signs to look out for, stranger danger. Like, what does that look like? Again, the phone, social media, what does, that consist of? And being able to talk to them about, like, if something is to happen, what are the steps your families need to take You know, like, depending on the situation. And so having plans in place, because, we hope and we pray that nothing ever happens to our kids. I'm going to tell a story. I have a 17-year-old, and he still lives in Georgia with his aunt and uncle, and um, we co-parent together very well, love them to death, and we agreed that he didn't need a cell phone, and so he didn't get a cell phone until he went to high school. And man, we were the worst. All the kids have it. He has it. She has it. All the things, right? Well, my son was at my house. He comes on the weekends, all the fun stuff, and his phone rings. And if you have teenage kids, then you know this to be true, but I don't know why they immediately answer their phones and they put it on speaker.
Right.
And if you're FaceTiming, they just lay it down, so all you see is the ceiling. And I'm like, I didn't call to look at your ceiling. I don't know why. But my son answered his phone, and he had it on speakerphone, and it was a grown man. And my first instincts was like, who is that? And he's like, Mom, it's my friend from Discord. You've never heard of the app. It's a gaming app on their phones. Yep. And I was like, no, that's a grown man. And he's like, yeah, he lives in a different country. And I was like, absolutely not. Hang that up right now. We got into our little argument, and he deleted the app, and he's now, and even then he was like, well, that can't happen to me. And I think that's the biggest thing, is what we've got to share with our youth is, even though you think that can't happen to you, it absolutely could.
Yes.
And I think just the awareness and the education and the steps and plans to take is so important for every single family member. And so I think that is, every family should make those plans and make those steps. And what does it look like, And I think that the older they get, the more awareness you can share with them. And now my son, we did a training in Panama a couple months ago, and law enforcement was sharing about all these apps, and I'm over here taking pictures, and I send them. I'm immediately texting them, and I'm like, all right, here's all the apps, and just really bringing that awareness and communicating about how predators can get a hold of our kids. And his first response was, well, that won't happen to me. And I was like, okay, just remember what these apps are. So I think the awareness is huge.
That's awesome. And if I can, it's funny you say that, because my grandchildren, my oldest one is going to be 13, and she still doesn't have a phone. My daughter only gives them, they can speak through the Apple Watch. And that's the way she has them tagged and everything. But since baby, she has talked to them about strangers, not to, they're sharp on that. Like they're very, you can even see when we go out, I think it's so important. That one thing that you were just saying is that really controlling your children being on social media. My daughter they got tablets, and they're only allowed 1 hour on them, and they cannot get on any social media stuff. They don't even know how to, by the way. So, but I think it's so powerful, you sharing that.
Yeah. So we have a couple of friends of the show have made comments. Well, one made a comment. Andrew Yarborough, he's been on with us before. He's a financial planner in Louisiana. Good friend of the show, just a good follower of Christ. And he says, thank you for all you do. So that's amazing. Thank you, ladies. And then I see another gentleman on Facebook joined us, Freddie Calkins. I work with Freddie during the day, and he's a good friend and checks us out from time to time. So we appreciate you guys jumping on and sharing with us. I was back to something came back to me when you said surprise, and I think the surprise part, when I think about it, for me, is actually how much of it is going on. And I think we're seeing more and more and more, because people are sick and tired of it. At first you saw a few people come out, but now you got people coming out all over the place trying to expose this stuff. And we don't know how deep and dark it is and big it is yet. But I just hope it all gets exposed and gets
Amen.
flushed.
Amen.
That's where it belongs. Just being honest.
Yeah. Amen.
Sorry for my candidness, but that's
Okay.
You got a question here that I like Sean has here that I just saw that is, what is grooming and how does it relate to trafficking? I'd like to know about that.
Go ahead, Nicole. You were touching on that a little while ago.
yeah,
Oh, I
yeah.
love that.
So
That's a
you
great
take it.
question.
Sure. So grooming is a process. Grooming happens over time. So it's kind of what I mentioned earlier of the groomer, the predator,
Right.
he or she, they want to become the hero of the story. So what they will do is they will look for someone who is vulnerable, typically. It could be a single mom, it could be a teenager, it could be someone with damaged relationships with their parents, with their family. They will look for some type of vulnerability, and then they will present themselves as the solution to the vulnerability.
Wow.
So, for example, you have a single mom, two kids, working overtime, trying to provide, trying to pay the bills, longing for love, longing for someone to come and be the hero of her story. And she meets Prince Charming and they start dating and he gets to know her and the kids and he shows up to their basketball games and he buys them groceries and showers her with flowers and cards and trips and clothes and does all these things to charm her and to win her over and win the kids over and he's the hero of the story until he's not. And one day it just flips and he turns a switch and he says, Do you remember when I bought you all those groceries? Do you remember when I paid for your son's braces? Do you remember
Wow.
when I took you on that trip? Well, now you owe me. And how you're going to pay me back is I've scheduled 5 appointments for you, and you're going to go and you're going to meet these men and make my money back. And the thing about this is that the victim is already so in love and or they're so bonded to that person because they were the hero that it's very hard to just switch and say, no, I'm not doing that, we're breaking up. Plus, usually at that point, there's also the threat of violence. Threats to you, threats to your parents, threats to your kids. And the the victim just usually, just wants to get through the day. They want to
Right.
live to see another day, and so that's how it starts. That's how
Wow.
it
So
starts.
they put their claws in. It's almost a quid pro quo, but
Yes,
without
yes.
them knowing.
There's a switch.
Yeah, and that's wow, that's crazy. But we have a question here. Let's see. Going back to grooming issues, it's sad that the acts of kindness or mentoring can be looked at with suspicion. I think that the key is not allowing this to be done in isolation or secret.
Yep.
Amen. Yep.
Yep.
Very good.
Good.
Amen. Dave.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
because I
yeah.
agree. I mean, you wanna, I mentor men, women, you mentor, and the thing is that you don't want to stop doing that, but then you go, okay, wait a minute, you don't want to be looked upon like it's a very good point, Dave.
Yes,
Yeah.
and isolation is part of that grooming process. I forget which step that is, but it's all about isolating the victim. Because at some point, the perpetrator is going to say, you can't talk to your friends anymore, you can't hang out with your parents, you can't see your children. Like, there is an isolating factor to that. So, yes, absolutely correct.
And I think but look, involving parents, youth pastors, spouses, etc., is a good way to ensure that there's accountability.
Yep.
And I think teaching that what you just said, Nicole, just teaching that when you start seeing that someone is telling you don't trust those people, don't trust, and they want to be the only one that you can trust,
Exactly. Fully
um,
dependent upon that
right.
person. Yeah.
So you should
Exactly.
be dependent only on God.
Yeah.
Exactly. Hey, I'm just gonna interject real quick. Shannon and I talked ahead of time, just so everybody knows. We're gonna have to make this a series because we're not gonna get through. And I kind of knew it up front. We have
Yeah.
different sections of this that each one's got some really good questions and some really good discussion to have. So we're gonna have to make this a series. We're gonna continue, but just audience, don't be upset when we have to cut out and we haven't finished our talk. We're gonna continue this talk. So, and we'll announce that really soon as to when we can get back on to wrap up. And by the looks of it, it's going to be at least 3, maybe even 4 sessions. So that's awesome. I really am excited about this because
I
it's a
am
topic
too.
that, from a ground roots level, it's a topic that just needs to be out there for sure.
Well, another one here that, if you don't mind me throwing this out there, in your experience, what type of businesses might have human trafficking occurring within them? Hotels, illicit massage parlors, strip clubs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What would you say um, that we need to look out for, and possibly, it's a great question, Sean, by the way, and especially like maybe what do we need to start barring? Like eliminating that is actually what they're using consistently now as a tool or business that's recruiting these people. So what would you guys say to them?
Yeah.
The illicit massage parlors are huge. And those, you can always tell your different massage parlors to go to, right? Because I love going to get a massage. That is like that's typically like my Mother's Day gift every year is like just a day. But you really have to pay attention to the massage parlors that you.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Wi-Fi.
Okay, are we good?
Yeah.
there you go.
You're back. You're back.
I was like, oh no.
You were saying we have to be careful of the
Yep. So
massage parlors. Yeah.
paying attention to the massage parlors, you can tell and law enforcement offers trainings on the illicit massage parlors. But one recent training we did was they talk about how all the windows are blacked out and how it's typically, it's not a nice place. It's a building and it just says open and there's a lot of things that happen inside of those massage parlors. Your hotels and your motels are huge. There's a lot of legal cases that are going on with different hotels and motels where survivors are actually able to sue these hotels and motels from because trafficking situations occurred on their property and nothing was done about it. And you can tell the difference in which hotels and motels. It's easier with the ones that have doors access from outside, but definitely they still use the ones that you can only access the rooms from the inside. And then there are, it can happen inside of school systems. It can one of the big things that you want to look out for as well are your major sporting events. So that stuff happens all the time. Our organization is going to support with World Cup. And we'll be in Atlanta hosting and doing street outreach. We'll do bus outreach, and we'll encounter women that are coming in on the buses. The Greyhound buses are the easiest, cheapest way to travel. It's long, but traffickers will put women on buses. And then we're also going to go down to Miami. And so we're doing all of that in a few weeks to go set up and just do those outreaches, try and hand out, our hope cards with our hotline numbers and just give words of encouragement to these women to really just let them know that there are resources. But your major sporting events are huge.
Wow.
And then, it can happen, again, your public transportations, Uber drivers, Lyfts, you just never know where it could take place. And so just making sure to pay attention. I think that once you're educated on the issue, and once you get some signs to know what to look out for, then you can't unsee it. And, knowing where your state is, different states have like your local state tip hotlines. Then you have like your national hotline. And so there's different ways that you can report tips. But once you're educated, that's the biggest piece here, right? Education. Then it's there. And when you see it, you feel like you have an obligation to share and to call and to make a report.
But you just said something I think is important. I'll go to this question in a minute, but the part of educating, how what do you think we can do to educate better the community and the public? Because I think that's really I mean, just you listen. We're about to hit the top of the hour, and we could go 2 3 hours, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, and no kidding. But how can we find a way to educate better? I mean, people, just everybody, the public. What would you say to that? And then I'll bring up the question for.
So I think ultimately it's going to be people have to want to be educated.
Right.
Yes.
Because I will tell you, there are so many different educational videos. The Institute for Survivor Care shares stuff all the time. Exodus Cry shares stuff all the time. We have training and bring awareness. It is the community that they have to want to be educated. And the people that do want to be educated and want to be involved and want to support and want to say, hey, like that's a fight that I want to stand up with, they reach out and they figure out how to get educated. And so I think to flip the question, it's how do we get the community to want to be involved more?
So, in other words, what I'm hearing also is how do we get people to stop denying that this is happening so
Yes.
much?
Getting your
Yeah.
head out of the sand. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm
You
with you.
know? So here we go. We need to get back to true worship in church and our community. Without community working together, there aren't enough people that will help mitigate this situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
Good.
agree.
Good.
Yeah.
And I think with that, I'm going to add to that, right? Like to help solve the issue is like, how do you end the demand? Like if there isn't a demand for it, then it's
Yeah.
not, then it wouldn't be happening, right? And so then I'm going to take it a step further. Even within the church, you think about how many people are watching pornography. How many people are participating in that side of it? And then I'll never forget Jeff Shaw. He does a great presentation. He's our CEO on pornography. And the very first time I ever heard him teach on it, and I heard the word say, you don't know whose daughter that is on the other side of that camera. You don't know whose son that is on the other side of the camera. And you don't know what they've had to do to continue these acts on this camera. And so many people are feeding the demand, whether that's through pornography, whether that is through exploitation, through trafficking, substance use. Like it all goes hand in hand. And so even, the church has to have the hard conversations. The church has to bring this to the forefront of the community and say, this is happening. There's the pornography, there's the community, there's the people that are participating in this. And so, yes, we need to get back to the church, but also the church has got to help bring the awareness and own that it does happen even in the church.
And I think we already have a good amount of time and testing when it comes to that area in the area of drugs, right?
Yep.
We keep attacking, the countries that are selling it and doing that, but no matter how much we stop those people, the consumption is so big in the U.S.
Yes.
that they're gonna still find a way to bring it in. And until we deal with those issues specifically, and and I'm saying that we already have some results showing that hey, this doesn't work, and I think it will be the same thing in what you're sharing with us. I'm not saying that we don't stop going after those people. What I'm
Right.
saying is that we need to reshape that and start looking at something differently. And David Thompson, good point about porn and trafficking. The stats on porn in the church are crazy. It really is. It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah, we could do just a whole session on what that consists of,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
again, this topic can go on for hours, but
Yeah.
even trying to touch a little bit on the pornography and the church, that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
We're at the top of the hour.
yes, sir.
Man, that went by fast, and I think we
Really?
got through like 1.5 of the topics out of 4. So I think it's definitely going to be at least a 3-part series. So
Well,
I'm
look at
excited. I'm
this.
excited about that.
Dave is actually saying, "Well, John, look at this. I would like to hear more about specific things to look for in the future sessions."
Okay.
So I think that we need to. We're going to need to even organize and market this differently, because I think people are, and we had quite a few people watching a little while ago, and I think it's because of the topic, and
Yeah.
I think yeah. But go ahead, Sean. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. We'll figure all that out and definitely work something out. If you ladies are up for it, we're up for it. I do need to work on the schedule a little bit. I know we have a couple of guests coming on in the next couple of weeks, so I want to continue this. Like, I don't want to stop and come back. I'd rather keep the series going. So let me have some discussions offline with those folks and see if we can move things around. But yeah, amazing discussion today. Thank you so much. Listen, folks, you can find us at wethesheeple.life, and I'm going to allow let me allow our guests to tell where you can find them, and maybe if you want to give your hotline number out while we're on air and stuff, that's absolutely fine with us. And then we've got a resource page coming. It's still in the works. It's a lot going on, just to put it that way. And we'd love to be able to put that. You guys get the permissions necessary. We could put that as a resource on our resource page as well. But why don't you guys just share, if people want more information about you guys, want to know how they can volunteer, support, that 800 number that you have, that somebody's in that dire straits at 2 a.m. they need to make a phone call. I'll let you guys do that.
Yep. So you can, our website is www. Did I say 3 or 4 W's? I may have said 4.
You got 3. You got 3.
You got it.
Myself, y'all. The Freedom Collective .org, and our emails, actually, both mine and Nicole's email is our first name at thefreedomco.org. And so with Nicole helping out, she has an email as well. You can find us on social media. If you want to get involved, if you want to volunteer with us here in Northwest Florida, I mean, I don't know, people could be in Ohio or Atlanta listening. If you go to our website and you click on the locations, once you click on the location and scroll down, you will actually find, I believe on all the pages, you'll find Amazon wish lists, things that we may need in the homes, a place to give financially. That is a huge need for us. You'll find our volunteer applications to get you started. And once you apply for the volunteer application, once you complete that, it'll take you to a 3-hour training that we put on virtually, and that is our volunteer training. But we encourage people to go and watch that because it's huge. It's your human trafficking 101. It talks about the issue. It talks about our response and how people can get involved. And so you guys can definitely find that there. Again, all locations have their application in their specific home on the website. And if you want to grab coffee with one of us, please let us know. We love to get with people, to sit, to have coffee, share the need, share how people can get involved. I know you guys will hear more from us over the next few weeks, few months, however long this series takes. You never know where Lord is going to take it. And so so those are ways that you can find us and get involved. But if you forget all of that, the one thing that I want everybody to remember is that hotline number. So our hotline number is 943. It spells out to be free. And so it's 943-223-3733. And I don't actually have a card right here with me, but we have hope cards that we give out to women, and and it has our hotline number on it, and that way they can just call. And that hotline is answered 24 hours a day. And so it doesn't matter what time somebody calls, it's getting answered.
And Shannon, this is not just for women volunteers, right? Anyone can volunteer.
Yeah, so we actually have different opportunities for men and women to volunteer. There are more opportunities for women, obviously.
Mhm.
But the men, we actually need men to get involved with us. And so, two of the main areas that we need men to get involved in is on our response teams. So, when a woman calls our hotline, they do the assessment to make sure she meets our criteria. The criteria that she has to meet is 18 and older, and she has to have some type of sex trafficking or commercial sexual exploitation in her background. And once we figure out, that portion, then our hotline teams, depending on what location has a bed, we'll figure out where she needs to go. And locally, what we do is we dispatch our response teams, and our response teams are a man and a woman. We love husband and wife because they're already together, and they can just go out together. But tonight, I will say right now, I have a female volunteer and a man volunteer. Actually, a survivor's plane landed at 9 p.m. And so she's coming in. We're going to help get her to her next destination. But they go out and they pick her up and they take her and transport her to our home in any of the locations, right? And so, and then also our street outreach. And so we have street outreach that we do on the second and fourth Fridays of the month. Right now, we're currently doing that in Panama City area. We are starting next month to look at Pensacola area and launch over in that area. And so the goal is to have different outreaches going in each of the main areas across the Panhandle. And so we need men to join us in that as well. But the women, they can join our hotline team. They can answer the hotline call. They can come and do Bible study in the home. They can lead a class, do teaching, cooking class. They can help with appointments and just different things like that. And so there's lots of areas to get involved.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Well, ladies, thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to do this again real soon. I'd like to get us to, get these at least 3 or 4 sessions done, and then we can talk about maybe doing a welcome once a month or something along those lines to keep it out there, keep it in front of people, so that it's so important to, we think about your kids. I've got grandkids from 14 down to 1, and I think about this stuff, especially with the 14-year-old. She's beautiful. She's a dancer. I don't even want to go there because I don't know what I would do. But that being said, thank you again, folks. You can find us at wethesheeple.life. Go there and check it out. We have devotionals on there, but even more importantly than that, subscribe, and we'll send those devotionals right to you. We would love to be able to send those directly to your email so you can have something to look at each and every day. And there's everything from a short devotional, 1 or 2 minutes, to a little deeper dive, take you a few more minutes, and then also a reflection on there that you can dig into, and that goes out daily. And then James is our resident author and leadership coach, and he wrote a book called Leadership Unlocked, the 10 Keys to Influence and Impact. He's also international. He's also got it out in Spanish, and it's skyrocketing in Central America right now. So we've got 2 people from Panama City here. One just happens to be in Florida, and one's in Panama.
When she said Panama, I was like, Panama to Florida? Yeah. I said, if you're down in Panama, you can come to any one of my restaurants. I'll invite you.
There you go.
I'll treat you well.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you can find the stuff there. And then also the new tab that's on our website right now is DJ, and I'm going to pronounce it wrong, Aurelian, I believe how it's pronounced.
Yeah.
That's Adrian himself. He is a professional DJ, and he's starting to do some events from an outreach standpoint. We're out there in the community. We're doing events that are in the public eye and whatnot. And the way we're doing it is God-centered, trying to reach people, having those conversations that you may not expect to hear in an environment that he's DJing in, which is it's not a horrible environment. Don't get me wrong. It's not like a nightclub or anything. It's like really cool. But anyway, all that to be said, look us up, find us there. And also this podcast will be highlighted. There's a tab for the podcast called At the Table Radio, and it'll be highlighted until the next one comes out. The latest one gets posted there. You can click right there, or you can find it on YouTube. And the YouTube channel is the @The Table Radio. And that's it for today, folks. Does somebody want to pray us out? I can do it if I'm happy to. Okay, I'll do it. Everybody, including our audience, would you just take a moment and pray with us? Father, thank you so much for this this podcast tonight, Father. Just to educate us, Father, let us learn a little more that so that we can go out and reach others, Father. Reach those people that are in harm's way, and deal with those that are causing harm, Father. Give us the insight, give us the wisdom, give us that discernment that we need to be able to identify these things, Father. And Father, let us do it with that Christ-centered attitude and spirit, Father, that we're able to console those that need consoling and deal with those that need the discipline, Father. Thank you for all you do for us. Thank you for this cast. Thank you for our guests, Shannon and Nicole. Just an amazing time today, Father, and we're just blessed by it. We thank you for all these things in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Amen.
Yes, and technology is killing me today, guys. Sorry.